This whole mission is to help raise the collective vibrations about becoming better human beings every single day. Flow in, flow out. New episodes coming out every Monday at 6 a.m., Friday at 4 p.m. And today's a special episode. We got a special guest, former high school colleague, Brent Hess. Say what's up, Brent.
What's up, guys? Good to see everybody, and
Yeah,
glad to be here and be a part of this.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I invited Brent. Brent is actually old wrestling teammate of mine, and he lives close in Northern Virginia and has a MMA gym called My Kido, and he's been at it. And I've noticed that, and I follow his journey as well too. And he's got a fight promotion that he's been promoting and just working on. So it's super cool to stay in contact with him, and we periodically touch base once in a while. And I thought he would be a great guest to jump on here and tell a little bit about his story of martial arts and how he actually made it a business and really give back to the community and stuff. And it's really inspiring. That's the reason why I brought Brent on the show, and is a good buddy of mine. And we've always had a lot of respect for each other. Brent was a lot better wrestler than I was. I was a terrible wrestler, but that's what kept us, connected is wrestling. Um, was one of the toughest sports. I played a few sports in high school. I played football, I did track, and I did wrestling. I think wrestling, out of all three sport, was definitely the toughest. We just spent a lot of like 2 or 3 hours just in a hot room of just drilling, and it was terrible. It was miserable, but I always talk about it. Gave me a good foundation of just like grit and discipline, just grinding through life. That was a good foundation. And it's a funny story. Like after I was like wrestling and I got in really good shape, I almost this. I don't know if you guys remember in high school, September 11th happened. Remember the World Trade Center? When the
Junior year, man.
Yeah, yep.
yeah. So that happened. But like after high school, I really wanted to join the military. So I was getting recruited by like the Marines and really close to getting, because I really wanted to keep the fitness level and the discipline uh together. And I almost got recruited, but my brother talked me out of it just because he knew that possibly if I joined the Marines that I would have gotten or went to war. So it's an interesting story. But that's how like if anybody out there understands like people, athletes like wrestlers, man, we're a different breed.
Yeah.
Well,
uh,
and it seems like Brent, you've taken that to the next level. So tell us, man. So this is your gym in the background. This you own it.
Yeah. We opened up here in April of 2009. So, geez, I mean, it's been
Wow.
some time. It's been some time now. Uh, and yeah, I've been putting a lot of work in here. Just creating my own story. My father actually started My Kido in 1982.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah.
so so he had a couple locations, one in Burke, one in Alexandria, and he would kind of teach at a couple different places. But right after college, I came and opened up here. So we're here off of Carlin Springs Road in Bailey's Crossroads. If you guys are familiar with that area, it's kind of like where Arlington and Falls Church and Alexandria all kind of meet at this crossroads. And that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's Bailey's Crossroads. Um, so yeah, we're right there, and been kind of creating a positive influence in our community ever since. MMA is kind of like has a stigma of like, oh, it's just fighters, but you know, the it's only like 10% or 15% of the guys that actually compete. Most of the people are coming in and they're just training, they're just improving themselves. We have kids, women's only classes, fitness classes. We have, obviously I can't do everything, so we have some great instructors as well and great coaches. We had a couple PT sessions going on earlier today. So, it's we're open 7 days a week. It keeps me pretty darn busy along with my two little toddlers now that I got. So I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they keep me pretty darn busy. But I wouldn't give it up for the world. I know you guys have children as well, so that's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Dude, tell me. I saw a lot of things there. I got so many questions now. But I guess my first question is, okay, so you went to college. So your dad had the business back in 1982, two locations.
College in Florida, by the way.
Oh, nice. Whereabouts?
Yeah, and I don't know where you live, but it was in at FAU in Boca Raton.
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm just outside of Tampa. I'm like 20 minutes north of Clearwater on like
Oh
the
wow,
Gulf
yeah,
side.
I have some friends who live out that way, and they're like, man, you got to come. It's like that's considered like the west coast of Florida, right? So.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so it's I hear it's really beautiful. I never been out there. I've been only on like Fort Lauderdale, Deerfield Beach, Boca Raton, West Palm, kind of that part of Florida. But all in all, I love Florida. That's just the bottom line. I mean,
Well, if you ever
yeah,
make it to Tampa, you got to let me know, man. Absolutely.
yeah,
This is my guest bedroom. You can sleep in the Exit Built headquarter here. But
yeah. The podcast room. I mean, you got the
Yeah.
best setup there. Jeez.
Oh,
but
Sorry to interrupt you though. Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
you're good, man. You're good. So my question is like, okay, so your father had the business back in 1982. He had two locations. So you were always kind of around it. And then you went off, you went to college here in Florida. And then after college, you came back and just immediately started this business. I mean, what'd you go to college for? Were you thinking about going somewhere else or doing something different? What kind of pulled you back into getting back into MIKIDO?
Well, yeah, I was in it all my life, really, because 1982. I was born in '85, so it was going on before I was even born. So as you can imagine, I was born into it. Um, and then yeah, I mean, just many years. Everybody's like, "When did you start martial arts?" It's like, man, you know, when
grew
did I
up.
get out? When did I leave the hospital? When I was born. Yeah, that's about what time when I started. Um, and yeah, went to college. I majored in business and double majored business marketing. So it kind of fell right into place there. Um, I
Yeah.
was, I was kind of in college. I was working at a couple different places. One place that could have taken me another direction, um, and who knows, but it was a financial firm, and I was getting my Series 7, and it was there was like selling stocks and things, but I mean. It is what it is. Those guys do pretty well, I guess, but they sit in a damn cubicle and yelling at people on the phone all day. It was something that I thought was cool at the time, but I don't know if it would have been. Maybe it would have been. Maybe it would have been lucrative. Um, and then I also helped another job that I had because I was working while I was in college. I was running my buddy. My buddy had 5 kickboxing and kung fu schools in South Florida, like one in Aventura, one in Hollywood, one in Sheridan area. Um, so I was running the kickboxing program in 2 of those locations, and um, he's a good friend of mine. He ended up selling the gyms and stuff, but it kind of gave me a good foundation on how things go. I mean, I'm sure maybe you guys where you're at right now started in a place where you were kind of being mentored and learning um, stuff, which I think is really kind of pivotal for youth to kind of do in whatever they want to do. And I was lucky enough to have that, my friend JP. So um, he actually Samnang. You would appreciate this. He sold his kickboxing and kung fu schools, and got into CrossFit, like real big into CrossFit, and opened up a couple of the biggest CrossFit gyms in the nation. He called Brick CrossFit. I don't know if you ever heard of Brick CrossFit,
Hmm.
um,
He had
but
heard. Is it
yeah, no, they were. He moved up to New York, and he had them
in,
in one in LA and one in New York. It was kind of like
okay.
weird, but he's
I follow some of the guys on Instagram, and I've heard that name before, Brick
yeah,
CrossFit. So
yeah.
it's nice.
And so I visited him at his gyms, and I got into CrossFit. I'm CrossFit One certified, and all that stuff. You know how that goes.
Yeah. I'm too.
Um,
CrossFit level 2, but I
Oh,
haven't CrossFit for a while.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
it's a rough sport. I always tell people just kind of take it slow,
yeah.
take it, because
Some people go in there and hit
yeah,
real hard.
CrossFit's like always trying to. All right, so you can do 100 pounds. Let's bring it up to 120. And then 120, let's bring it up. So it's like before you know it, you're like overhead pressing like 150 pounds and ripping your shoulders out. So you just yeah, yeah. I love CrossFit, but you got to be careful with it. But
CrossFit
so
definitely sport is like I always, as a coach, when I coach, is I always made sure people that were safe, and like I kept people really safe because I knew how to spot things and stuff. But the funny thing is that like you're an athlete and coach and everything, and then you're like in the back just crushing everything, like yelling in the back and stuff. So it's a really fun sport, but it's also very dangerous if you do it wrong and everything. Your
right,
story is really interesting, how you kind of came up and everything. I think maybe like if you had gone through that financial route, I bet you probably would have felt something on the inside pulling you away back from it. That's kind of like where I went. It's like I've always had like this personal development, fitness, and you know, just like other people, is like I took the corporate route. I did the corporate, I worked in property management and everything, and just something inside me was like, I don't think this is the right move, and I started steering away, started doing more sales, and kind of transition into this lifestyle coaching, which is very fulfilling. I'm pretty sure you find your job very fulfilling because you could give back to the community. One is very fulfilling because that's something that like you know it's something that I think you were meant to do. Like your father, Mike Master Hess, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's still kicking, and he's still
Mike,
staying in shape, and
yeah,
keeps himself healthy, and does salsa dancing, and my parents are loving being grandparents really right
yeah.
now, so that's pretty cool too.
You want to hear a cool story?
Yeah.
So during Brent and I used to wrestle and everything. Our coach, Coach Moran, I don't think he was actually pretty. I think probably out of all like the coaches, I think he was probably terrible. He had a lot of talent on the team. Like Brent, we had like Dan Griffin, we had Vucci, like the Vuccis, we had Renzis, and they had like potential to be like state champions and like really like get up there. And I was like, there wasn't really that much leadership or anything on there. But the cool thing I remember, like when we were like having like wrestling matches, but your dad would actually. I remember him coming to some of the matches, and it will help me warm up. And instead of saying like it was a match, he would get in my head and he would say, "This is a fight." He was
Yeah.
like, "You're getting into a fight," and wow, I've never had anybody like a coach just say, "Hey, this is a fight," and it really is like a wrestling match is a scrappy fight, especially for somebody that's not like really very skilled. I Annie, the story of how I wrestled. Remember when I wrestled Mike Vachon?
Oh man.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Jeez.
told that
Mike,
story on the
Mike
podcast.
is an animal. Yeah.
He was an animal. And I told him, I was like, that was my Rocky story. I'll have you listen to it, but that was like my Rocky story where, like, the whole week, everyone was like, "You're wrestling Mike Vachon," and I was like scared, but also like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna do it." And I had taken me on, and it was a fun. It was interesting. That was like my Rocky story, but the story about your dad, it was like so inspiring for me because I would see him come to the wrestling practices as well, and you would actually I would see him, you and him doing like extra pull-ups and stuff. I was like, damn man, I wish like my dad's like he's very fit as well too, and like does that, but like he wasn't able to go to a lot of my wrestling matches or anything, so I didn't really feel that support. But like let me maybe ask you, like, as you were building like your martial arts gym, kind of like that, how did your dad, Mike Master Hess, kind of help you in developing or building out your gym and who you are today? I think
Yeah.
fathers are important.
So funny enough, and I'll get to that, but Mike Vachon is a good friend of mine now, and he was a wrestling coach here for quite a few years when we were first getting going, and yeah, he's a great guy. I keep in touch with
Yeah,
him,
I
and so,
because when I mentioned the name, it was like this guy was like even in high school he was like really popular. He's like he was potentially at the state champion. I don't know if he became state champion that year or anything, but he was like a stud, you know. And
I think the only thing I remember about Mike Vachon in high school was like that's one guy I just don't want to fuck with. Like,
yeah,
I was always the small guy anyway, so like both of you guys probably would have been able to kick my ass, but it was like don't get in a fight with Mike Vachon. Keep him on
Yeah,
your team.
he's a beast, man. He's a beast. But yeah, as far as my father, man, he's been involved every step of the way, and he cut the ribbon here when we first opened up,
Very cool.
yeah,
and he's just kind of always, like you say, like in my ear trying to give me good advice, and he doesn't come in here and teach as much. He kind of got a gym at his on the back of his house where he kind of works out and does his own training. He likes to work out like super early in the morning, um, and so got a little bit of a different lifestyle, and I guess he's put in his time and his years doing this. So he kind of, I guess, in a sense, passed the torch. You
yeah,
know, but yeah, no, I do remember him being there, being very supportive of not only me but the whole dang team. He was pumping you up, he was pumping up Vucci, he was pumping up all the boys and trying to get us to win as a team. That's respectable for him to kind of have done that, and I got into wrestling in high school, so I was athletic and I was used to competing, but wrestling, like you say, is kind of a different beast, in the sense of like, it'll beat you down, man. It'll beat you
yeah,
down. I tell the kids, I got quite a few young boys in here that train here, and then they do their wrestling season in the winter, and you know they benefit from it, whether they do well or they don't do well. I just went to districts actually, about a month ago, and supported some of them, and they didn't win, but they it's almost like you get quite a few like life lessons, and you learn kind of about yourself and about how you react under pressure, and that's really what you get from martial arts too. It's like, all right.
yeah,
Well, how you almost like you get in touch with your senses. I call it like kind of like you test your gauges. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people kind of go through life and they're like, you know, nowadays it's like if you want to live easy, you can live easy. You can have fast food, fast
yeah,
stimulation on the phones, fast pretty much anything you want. You can get damn tacos delivered to your house. So like it's when you test yourself in a personal way. I think that's whether it's wrestling or whether it's any kind of martial arts, it's a little bit different than playing pickleball or
yeah,
like just like racquetball or playing lacrosse. In my opinion, it's a little bit different, and so that's what's pretty cool, man. Like martial arts, it's crazy to see how far it's come. um, John Kavanaugh, Conor McGregor's coach, just released this new program that he's doing. They're going to be trading on the damn New York Stock Exchange. They got the
Wow.
ticker symbol MMA, and so they're just trying to get more involved and get everybody more involved in kind of bettering themselves. It kind of can apply to anybody. That's kind of what it comes down to. And in the state of the where we are right now, and after COVID and everybody getting sedentary and non-social, it's kind of cool to have a cool community, a cool tribe that you can kind of be a part of. Um, yeah, hopefully you guys can get involved in martial arts wherever you're at. I know it's probably not going to be here, but even in Florida and Tampa, I know they got good places too.
yeah,
Yeah, no, man, I love like you hit on the nail on the head on one particular thing that I can relate to. So like my background, like I went into professional snowboarding for a long time, right? And one of the things that I can relate, maybe it's not exactly the same, but martial arts and the things that you're doing, it's really an individual sport, right? It's like you against you and you against the competitor. And in snowboarding and professional snowboarding, it's the same thing. And one of the things that I found was the mindset that you get in on the drop in, right? Before your run, before you go hit the big jumps and everything else, the ability to visualize how you're going to not fall, how you're going to win, get over your fears, all those things to go have a great run and then actually drop in and do it is so synonymous with being a business owner,
Yeah.
right? And like I can relate to so many times that I've just like in business just dropped in and did it, right? I mean, the hell this podcast, this is like
Yeah.
Samnang being like literally like the next day he's like, "Hey, let's just record it and start." I'm like, "Cool, we're in." Right? So taking your background from wrestling, fighting, your history, dad, the whole nine, walk me through like I know like in any business, right? You go through highs and lows. You ride the roller coaster that is business and entrepreneurship. Take me through like maybe one of the lower moments when you first kind of started out. Maybe it was a slow year or COVID or something of that nature, right? And
Yeah.
walk me through like how did you navigate that and how much do you relate your success of navigating that back to that kind of fighter mentality and your core discipline of MMA?
Yeah. No. So when I opened up in April of 2009 here, we didn't have like the whole like facility that we have. I mean, at this point we have a little over 5,000 square feet, but we started off with like 2,000 or something like that, and then we knocked down some walls. So it's been kind of like a consistent like growth, but not necessarily one like this, more like this. And but yeah, COVID was a huge kick in the groin, just to say the least, because everybody just, got scared of everything. And but I kind of had it was like a blessing during that time because my first daughter was born. Um and literally April of 2020. So if you guys
Oh,
remember,
nice.
well, COVID popped
Right
off
after.
in
Was it?
in,
Yep.
in like February or March, and then right around April, everyone was like in their house and COVID, COVID crazy. So, um, I got to spend, even though we had to shut the gym down for what was it, like 4 or 5 months, like at least 4 months, I think. I was able to really spend a lot of time enjoying that first part and my first child. And so I don't look back on it like it was a tough time for the business, even though it was. Uh, and then after that, it's just kind of like a slow build, and like we're back like now, like people want things to do, and they started coming out, and they're like, man, I really want to get active again. COVID almost had like an opposite effect. It was like last year, for example, I just talked to my accountant. We had our best year ever, 2023. And so it kind of you know there's a certain depending on what you believe in, man, it's just blessings after blessings kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I definitely have had a lot of them, and I'm grateful to to be doing what I'm doing and enjoy what I'm doing. And I like to say it's a blessing to be a blessing, kind of like what you guys are doing too, right? Like you guys are helping out a lot of folks that you don't even know. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them you'll never meet, like so um in that's kind of part of what we're doing. Now I'm taking the fight energy that I had all those years and kind of gearing it into a, a giving uh, kind of energy. And resolution, or my theme, I guess, for this year and last year too, because that's when I started with the boxing league, is influence. And just kind of being a positive influence, and being a powerful influence to whoever I come across, and I like I say, I kind of interact with all walks of life, like everything from like little kids to like teenagers to to uh, guys in their 20s, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. They think they want to fight, and be a professional fighter. And so I try to give them the best influence and the best advice that I can, and that's something that I've kind of I've earned my stripes. I'm 38 years old now. I keep telling people I'm damn 36. I'm like, what the heck, dude? I'm like subtracting years, but I told you guys the right one. I'm 38, and I feel like I've earned my stripes in the sport and in life, I guess, right? Like, now that we're a little older, we've kind of learned different things about different stuff, and just try to be a good influence for everybody, even the elderly, man. I like talking to elderly, and um, really getting you can't get better advice and better stories, better people who have earned their stripes than somebody who's 70,
Yeah.
80 years old. You know what I mean? Like, you're
100%.
you're not going to listen to that guy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
so um I have a good friend, one of our black belts, actually. I got to give him a shout out. His name is Jonathan Schweinefus. Um, he started a business where he does it's called Story of a Lifetime, and he interviews older folks and just kind of gets their story of their lifetime on like a video,
Yeah.
and sells it to him. He doesn't use it for like putting it out on the web, but he kind of gives it back to him. He did one for my father. We're gonna put it out on our YouTube channel at some point. I got to get more active on our MIKIDO YouTube, but just influence, man. Influence.
Yeah.
I try to be
Love
try to
it.
be do what I can.
Man, I love it. I think the influence that you've had and that warrior spirit by just kind of explaining, like, like time, like life is definitely tough. Like you get ups and downs and, different areas of your life. You have a lot of stuff going on. And typically that's what I do. It's like when I have like my family, I have my business, I have my bodybuilding career or bodybuilding journey and stuff. When some certain areas of your life is kind of like, it's not as where you want it and stuff. These other pillars, like your health, if you have other pillars of your life, they could hold these areas out where it doesn't seem like it's so detrimental. So for me, it's like when I'm influencing, that's a good word. Before I used to tell people stuff that they needed this, they needed this. Then as I got older, as like a fitness coach, and like it's not that I was like telling people, I just showing them the benefits of what we do. As like coaches and like somebody that's a martial artist, as a warrior, and for me that's like a bodybuilder and stuff. It's like I'm not telling people to do, but I'm actually showing like the benefits and the influence is worth a lot better as I've gotten older. Before I used to be like, oh, I learned this cool shit and just try to tell everybody, and that would actually like turn people off. And just the same way, it's just like that fulfillment, the influence. It really makes you feel good. It makes you feel like there really is like a blessing, and this opportunity for like to have the podcast, to have my coaching business, and like my bodybuilding journey is like I look at sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm not there where I want it to be, but at the end of the day, like I always think about it, like how many people have I inspired, or how many people I'm going to inspire, or going to have influence on, and that really keeps me like energized and like awake and everything. But that's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that story and about kind of where you grew up or kind of got here. But I think before on Monday we were talking a little bit about your fight promotion, and the way you were telling me about your fight promotion, it sounded like there was like a moment where like you had a time to be very disappointed and very like woe is me, like this shit fell apart, but you had a very optimistic like um outlook on it, and like it's gonna be good, right? Can you tell me a little bit about I think you explained it. It didn't work out the way you wanted to, but when you were explaining to me, it didn't seem like it was like it affected you at all. So kind of explain that a little bit, and then how like your mindset is like when you're doing hard stuff like building a gym, doing a fight promotion, doing like being a father, being a an influencer community member. How do you keep that like straight?
Yeah, so I'll just go first with the fight promotion. It was something I've wanted to do for a while, and something I enjoy doing. I'll try to give you guys the shorter version of the story, even though we're on a podcast. So But yeah, I mean, so my father was putting on the first. Let me start there. My father was putting on the first MMA events around, at least on the East Coast, before MMA was MMA that you guys know today. Like that acronym didn't even used to exist. Like, like it was just, he used to call it kickboxing with grappling. And and those were he used to do shows. He had shows in Burke. He did shows at Hayfield High School that they would never probably allow anymore.
Yeah.
And so like he was the pioneer of doing events, and so I kind of grew up in that. I was one of the fighters in those events, so I kind of was in that realm. But now, kind of putting on the show, I kind of make the comparison, like, man, it was way easier to fight, just all you had to worry about was fighting, showing up, making weight. You think that you at the time you think that's the hard part, but it's
That,
like, man, when you're doing the event,
that was
it's
probably
like,
before you had abilities and stuff. Like this,
yeah,
like work out and stuff would be great.
yeah. So, and then kind of fast forward, started with a buddy of mine. We started the King's Walk Boxing, which we had an amazing first event. Ton of people, everybody was happy. We had damn 21 bouts. We had some like world champion boxers in the commentary booth with us. Um, and so it was really awesome. It was at the Salisbury Center in Manassas. Um, and so um, that was August 19th of 2023. So not too long ago.
Oh wow, recent.
Yeah, that was our first event, and we freaking knocked it out of the park. It was awesome.
And it worked out.
Um, Say it again.
You,
Sorry, I missed
you
you.
you had one in DC that didn't work out or planned out as the way you
Yeah.
wanted.
So
Which,
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So like, uh, so then we were like, all right. I have a friend of mine, Lee. He puts these huge parties on in the DMV area. Um, more dealing. His company's called DCBX. So they put on the best Latin and Latin dancing. So they do like workshops during the day, and then they do like performances and shows at night. And it's like a 3 or 4 day thing. It's over like a weekend kind of thing. And man, he's a good friend, great friend of mine. He just had a baby girl, so yeah, man, it's awesome. I was just on the phone with him a couple days ago, but literally a couple days ago they had her. So he has a New Year's event. It was December 30th of last, right here before the New Year here, and we had everything worked out. Everything, like, I had done a lot of work. I had 16 fights ready to go.
Oh
Lee
wow.
was we,
damn.
we had the ring like set up right in the middle of the ballroom, and so our plan was he was gonna have these like catwalks walking out, and smoke machines. Like it was gonna be like really 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 cool. And then after the event, we were gonna rip the ropes down and turn the ring into a stage and turn it into
Oh
like
nice.
a concert. Yeah. So like we had everything planned out, and without being too negative, the DC kind of heads of boxing, let's just say, um, dropped the ball. They withheld our sanction from us, and you need the sanction number to kind of put on the event. And it got so, they were kind of like, oh, we'll do it, then we won't do it. It was kind of like hot and cold. And then, right there, a couple weeks before the event, I had to pull the plug. Like it just got to the point where, it did. I just didn't want to get up to, and they were still trying to lead us along, like, oh well, I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna do try, and so, I kind of look at things a certain way. I try not to let things bother me in a certain way. you know, and I kind of try to say, hey, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was for the better, maybe it wasn't meant to be. And
Yeah.
the connections that I made, I got up to the deputy commissioner of DC. I was talking with him, and funny enough, now we're on the phone, like, talking about doing events this year again. Like, he called me up, he's like, once, he knows I was legit, because we weren't trying to do anything but something positive for the city, which,
Yeah.
FYI, the city of DC. They need positive stuff going on, you know.
For sure.
So we lost that show. But yeah, so I'm in the middle of rebranding the whole company. Um, Kind of just to make it a little more gender neutral. It's going to be called the Champions League Boxing now.
Nice.
So yeah, now the Champions League Boxing. Give us a follow on Instagram, and the Instagram page needs a little love. It's we're just starting out, so be nice. And
We'll put everything. So, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll add it to the show notes and get your links in there. Let
yeah,
me let me
yeah.
ask you, Brent. You follow Jocko Willink? You read any of his stuff?
Yeah,
Jack,
I like Jocko a lot. Yeah, he's the 4 a.m. guy who takes a picture of his watch every morning, and
Sure.
yeah, he's got some pretty good protein too. Do you like him?
I'm a huge fan. I read his leadership books and like I love his style. Like his story's incredible. Like all the stuff that he did and the SEALs. But did you see like I think actually it was on Tim Ferriss's podcast his good skit. Did you ever see his good skit?
good.
No.
Broken leg.
Oh, dude, you got it. All right, so you have to promise me you're gonna watch this after this podcast. Just type in on Google Jocko Good, and just look at the first video. It'll be
Oh no,
him.
I have seen that. I have seen that. Oh, you got some problems? Good. Oh, you
Good.
can't get up out of bed?
Yeah,
Good.
it's just plays
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So like, so when you were talking about like, yeah, we had to shut it down 3 weeks, but I look at things in a different light. I immediately was thinking in the back of my mind like he's got that Jocko mentality. He's like, show didn't work out. Good. Now I'm gonna
Good.
go do this one over in August, and we're gonna crush it.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But
No.
that's it, man.
I mean,
Kind
having
of
that
yeah.
having that mindset while you're going through hard stuff or difficult stuff or stuff that just doesn't work, it actually keeps you from learning. It keeps you learning. Like you talked about it, like you make connections, network with like the deputy commissioner, and that's super cool connection. That you potentially would use and to get somebody that high level and stuff. And keeping that optimistic outlook is very good. Like even when I was going through like my shit with like divorce and separation and all that, I still had a very optimistic. I had an outlook of like I'm gonna learn something. There's lessons in these tough times, and having
Absolutely.
lessons,
Yeah.
like having you brought it is like through wrestling, through doing difficult things, doing things that like push you outside your comfort zone. I mean, by the way, whatever you just talked about like having the ropes and making it a stage, that sounds super creative and stuff. That would have been cool, but uh, but even like having to think through that process and stuff is really challenging to your brain and stuff. And it's similar in my field and Danny's field is like we're building these businesses that like coaching is fairly new online and everything. So we're using the mindsets and things that like I've used previously from my life, from like life lessons, just because I hit roadblocks where it's like really hard, it's really difficult. But I could also be like, I'm putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. It's normal. It's happening and stuff. When you put like, especially like in martial arts and like wrestling and stuff, doing these difficult things teaches so many damn life lessons that it just helps you move along. And I think that you sharing that about like that was extremely creative and a thing. And we'll definitely plug you and help you promote. That was the reason why we brought you on to the show and stuff. Is like I saw that you were. Yeah, having like a new fight promotion and everything, and so we could get this out, like a long format content out, and brand you or promote you as the fight promoter as well too, and part of your gym. So, which is
Yeah.
neat, man.
We're looking to do our first event, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe late summer. So maybe we can jump on another podcast and talk
Yeah,
about it, or whatever.
hype it
Let's
up
do
and
it,
stuff.
man.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And there's something I don't know, man, maybe this is something that'll resonate with you or not, but it's something I've been pondering a lot recently. So my space, I deal in tech, right? So we do a lot of web development and stuff, and then we also do lead gen for customers. And we were running up against a wall, my developers were, and I realized like we were focusing so heavily on the solution that we stopped asking better questions. And oftentimes what I realized and something that I'm super active on now is like I think if you stretch that out across multiple different things, not just in my space, but also like in your world and Sam Nang's world, we're always thinking about how can we solve this thing or what can we do to solve these things. And we're so heavily focused on the solution. Yet, if we start asking really good questions, the solution just starts happening around us, right? So it's never, for now, I'm realizing like for me in my business, it's not about the solution, it's about asking good questions and what you just kind of shared as far as the promotions are concerned, and like look, like you said, now you got to in with the commissioner, you have the next thing. So I don't know, just a nugget that I have. I don't know if you've heard of that before or not, but I always like kind of just sharing those things as like I'm going through it personally as well. But it's always like that
Yeah.
asking the better questions is getting me further along in my life right now than worrying about the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's very important. Just asking yourself the right questions, and you can almost talk yourself through uh, why you're maybe not at the solution that you desire.
Right.
Like I saw something about and you guys know this, like with kids, like um, if they don't, if they're not doing what you want them to do, kind of thing, don't just like react emotionally like, hey, you're not supposed to, just kind of like start, and this is not business, but this is kids. This is just ask them, hey, well, why do you think that you shouldn't put the remote in the glass of water, or why do you think that you shouldn't do this or that, or why, not put your hand in the toilet, and then they'll kind of start to think themselves, and then versus like, hey, you shouldn't have done that, and I'm kind of I'm a student of the game in that regard too, because with little ones, I'm trying to always be a better parent as well. I take pride in that, and I'm sure you guys do, and I'm trying to learn. So I'm open to any advice. I always tell people I'm open to any advice, but no negativity.
Yeah.
Here's a good one with kids that I started doing with my 5-year-old, and it works flawlessly. So my kid's just like me, independent. Like it's gonna be on his terms, right? Like it doesn't matter if like I could tell him, this cup is red, and until he decides the cup is red, the cup is purple until he tells me it's red, right? So like that's just how he is. So I started realizing I saw something. I forget where I got this one from. It might have even been about. Oh no, you know what? It was. I think it was actually Alex Ramosi who was talking about when he was in the frat, some frat business or whatever, and like he was trying to collect money, and then he became like the president of the frat club or whatever, and they were like, "Hey, this guy's not going to pay." So immediately as he became president, he was like, "Hey," he went to the guy that normally doesn't pay the dues. I was like, "Hey, I know that you're going to pay the dues. I know you're like, you're good for it, kind of thing." And the guy paid on time, right? So the moral of the story was like giving this like kind of foreshadowing of like where you're going to be. So I started doing that with my 5-year-old, and it works, man. I'm like, hey, bud, because I got three boys, right? So I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old boy, and now I got an 8-month-old boy, and all
Oh
they do
man,
is
you
fight.
got an MMA team right there.
Oh my gosh, man! And I have the octagon in my living room right now, bro. Like it's constant fighting. So I told my 5-year-old, I was like, hey, but like we were about to do, I forget, maybe it was BMX or something like that, and they get very competitive with each other, right? And I knew that my 3-year-old needed the support of my 5-year-old because my 3-year-old just follows my 5-year-old like a little puppy dog. And I was like, I looked at my 5-year-old and I was like, you know what, bud? I'm really excited for going to do whatever we were doing. And I was like, because I know you're going to be such a good big brother and that you're going to help him, get on his bike and do this and do that. Dude, without a flaw, like without a shadow of a doubt, all night long, he was like crowding around, come on, buddy, like pulling his brother
Oh,
along with him. And like, at the end of the night, he came to me and was like, "See, Dad, I am a good big brother, right?" I'm like, "Dude, you're the best big brother." And I was like, "Holy shit, it worked." So like, I
Yeah.
grabbed my wife. I'm like, "Honey, we got to start doing this with everything, man." Like, but it's
Yeah.
funny,
No,
like how the psyche works that way, right?
yeah.
Parenting is it's a challenge in itself as well too. But you know, I think for me, I think what I've learned recently, and it was prior to, like, you talk to kids and everything. It's talking them to that same level. Yeah, we're their parent and stuff. We're responsible for them. But that for me is like my thought process, like to become a better parent, I actually had to like listen to what they're trying to express, whether it be like an emotion. Sometimes they get very emotional and stuff. And there's times where like I have to let them calm down, you know, especially at like certain ages and stuff. And like they don't completely like me putting them, I had to put myself in their shoes. They don't have the complete understanding of how to express themselves. Sometimes it's just crying, sometimes it's being whiny, sometimes it's doing that. You know, for me, it's like learning to just understand like their brains are developing and just being more understanding with that. And then just when they start to calm down and everything, they tend to forget things pretty quick. But if they, you know, like from prior, I used to try to like do something while they're under like emotional stress and stuff. So, but I would let them just kind of, you know, ease on out and then just kind of talk to them, you know, as like a regular dad in simple terms. You know, I don't use like more complicated words and anything, but really just kind of get to that level was like, hey, what happened there? You know, like, why did you do that to your sister? Why did you do that to your dad and everything? Sometimes they have answers. Sometimes they're just like, whatever, I don't want to fucking talk to you and stuff. So to me, it's like parenting is just in life is you're really just learning up on the go almost, right? You have people that support you and teach you, but your kids are your kids and you are you at yourself too. So there's this relationship that you have to create with them. And then to me, it's like it's very fun because it develops. But in my head, like when you guys are talking about like, hey, you're gonna be a great big sister, you're gonna be a great at this and stuff, like that's almost like the same techniques as like we're teaching them how to visualize or how kind of think about
That's
like
it.
be happy, how to be successful, or like stuff too. So those small techniques and stuff, I think I just learned that, you know, like I use that for myself, but do I use that for my kids? And probably not as much as I should. But like having this conversation with you guys is like I should start doing that. You know, I start like I should talk about like, oh, you're going like because my 5-year-old is going into she's graduating from daycare preschool to regular school and stuff. You know, it might be transition. When you transition stuff, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of difference. She'll be separated from her sister and stuff, so those things like you know, I'm a co-parent, so I have communicating and try to get that across and stuff. And like my my first wife, or baby mama, is really good at doing that as well too. And it's like you guys bring that up, I start doing that as well too. So parenting's a fun little personal development journey too. I think it forces you to really grow a lot. Like I grown
100%.
more when the kids have gone. Like personally, you know, you're just it's not about you anymore. You know,
Yeah.
if it is still about you, like you still have to be healthy, but there's still more people that um that you have to support as well too. So
And
yeah,
Sam,
$100.
you and I are in the same boat, man. We both have two little girls.
two little girls. Yeah.
We're in double trouble, man.
I call them my little girlfriends. I don't have. I mean, I have like go on dates. I was like, but like two little girls for like a single dad. I was like, it's tough. But I can tell you the amount of dates or people that are interested, like people love little girls.
I'll
Oh,
tell you
how
what though,
old?
man, between the two of you though, I'm not worried about you guys because when the boyfriend starts showing up, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, my dad's a bodybuilder and my dad runs an MMA gym. Like, whatever, man. You guys are good.
Yeah,
Oh, and then
yeah.
my 3-year-old daughter Zara, she is very aggressive. So I feel like they're gonna be like a good squad, protective team. So I'm not worried about that as well too, man. Like same with you.
I was gonna say, how old are they?
Um, Xena just turned 5, and Zara's about to turn 3 in May. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, same age. I think what you're when you say you had your baby around when COVID had happened. My first daughter, we just celebrated her first year birthday, and then like the next week, everything shut down. So that was kind of like what I remember. It was like I had a daughter that was like 1 year old.
When was she? When was her? What's her birthday?
Uh, I'm bad with dates, but she just had a birthday. March 6th is
Oh,
her
okay.
birthday.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
March.
Mine April 18, and then my
Yeah.
my first or my second daughter was born on the first of the year. She's a New Year's baby.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that's always gonna be a memorable countdown. 10, 9, 8,
Oh, tell
7.
us the story. Because I think we were talking about like you say you wanted to tell your daughter. You were listening to a podcast, and then your daughter chimed in and was asking like what you were listening to, and that was actually a good like parenting moment where like you actually helped her explore what she was interested in by her watching you. So explain that. I think that's really cool because lately when we had Eamon on and we're doing this podcast and thing, I know we open up this world of like personal development some to some people because it. I've been in the personal development for a long time, and doing it and then just opening it up to some people. Like you did that with your daughter, but I think she started going to like YouTube and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, no, I mean well, first of all, I was one of those people like before I had kids, I was like, man, if I have kids, I'm not gonna let them get on the screens and have screen time, and can't let them sit on the TV all day, and man, after you have kids, it's like, geez, well, I guess I got to do some stuff around the house. Here's a little cocoa melon, and a little whatever, Peter Pan. Luckily, she likes all like really like, and it's kind of funny. Like she likes like the old classic movies, like the old Peter Pan, the old Cinderella, the old Snow White. Like she doesn't like the newer stuff. And I'm looking at the dates of some of these movies that I remember from when I was a kid, and they were like 1961, and like
Yeah.
like I'm like, wow, geez. But back to your point, I was watching. Sorry about that, guys. I was Jeez. Sorry. Figured out another way to ring me, huh? All right. Um, yeah, I was watching a podcast the other day, and my daughter was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, podcast." And I don't watch too many podcasts. I think it was Joe Rogan. I either watch Joe Rogan or I like Lex Friedman too. He's pretty cool. But I was like, she was like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Podcast." And then she's at this stage now where she's like, asking, well, what's a podcast? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like where you watch something and you learn something. And then she's like, well, why are you watching it? And I was like, I think I was like cooking or something at the time. And man, I got to figure this out here.
Do you want to answer it or?
No. Um, so sorry, guys. And so, so it got to the point where it was like, all right, and then so she was like, "Well, what's a podcast?" And I was like, "Well, podcast is where you watch something, you learn something." And I was like, "Well, what do you like?" And she was like, "Well, I like art." And I was like, "All right, let's see if we can find something about art, and for kids." And so I couldn't find like a podcast. I found a podcast, but it was just audio. So we went on to YouTube, and we found this guy who is kind of like does these paintings and shows how to paint, and he's got his kid right next to him, and it's like really cool. And
Yeah.
man, she really loved it, and it was like she didn't want to stop watching it, and I was like, man, this is cool, like I got to start doing more stuff like that with her versus just letting her watch like
Yeah.
Cinderella, just have her kind of learning something and doing something kind of like what I like to do, just get on a podcast and like learn about something or hear people talk about a certain subject. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna start doing that more a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean
Maybe,
that's good. I tend to do that too as a parent. Like when I got cooking, I was like, here, just watch the iPad. And sometimes I'm not aware of like. Sometimes I do gotta sit there and ask them questions or like kind of get them moving into like certain things. And they do want to. spend time with you. And sometimes I kind of forget that, you know, as a parent and stuff, it sucks. That's, I think for me, like as parents and like fathers, it's like I have this guilt of not like being the best I can as a dad, you know, and having those little moments, teaching moments of like sitting there, because we find fulfillment in teaching people, you know, and us men and stuff that are old and stuff, that is part, I think, the process of like, okay, we go, men tend to go through a lot of hard stuff, do a lot of hard stuff in those lessons, and teaching and like helping people explore their personality and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. You know, I think, you know, for me, like I take my parenting serious, and I do want my kids to be them, an individual person and stuff. So teaching them about art, teaching them about things that enjoy and stuff, and to challenge themselves and stuff. I think that's really important. I think that's a great story where you know, yourself had a, she was asking you questions, and you were kind of helping explore her, you know, what she likes and everything. So it's super neat, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Hey, listen, I'd love to keep talking, man. It's been great catching up and learning a ton, but we are coming up on time, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm already late for my 3 o'clock. But Brent, I want to ask you one last question from my end. The name, or I almost called you Aim and Saming, and then same thing. You know, maybe if you want to follow up with one more question, we'll wrap this thing up. But you know, bringing it back whole picture. So been running the gym now since 2009. You got your two little girls. They're starting to like take flight. You're starting to do more with them. You're starting to do this promotional thing. So what's next for you? Where are you headed with this? Where do you like see your gym going? Where do you see your promotion, your fight promotion stuff going? You know, how does this all fit into like your bigger picture? What's next for you?
Well, you know, hopefully, I mean, the goal is to have a bigger facility at some point, you know, or maybe open up a second one or a third one, you know, somewhere, you know, just continue to have a positive influence in our community and communities abroad. Like you know, we also have a MIKIDO Foundation where we help the underprivileged. So we work with the Second Story, which is like an organization of kids in our area that either don't have parents or have parents that are just not involved in their lives. We help them a lot. We have you know charities and different stuff that we help out in like my mom's from Ecuador, so we help a lot of underprivileged people over there, Honduras, El Salvador, and of course in our own community. My mom is kind of in charge more of the Makido Foundation. You can check it makidofoundation.org, and you know, just as far as the boxing league goes, it's I would say it's more of like a passion project at this point. You know, I'm hoping it blows up and becomes the next great, awesome thing. Um, but I think based on the influence that we had in our first show, I know that once we get rolling here with the Champions League coming up soon, once we get rolling, we're going to be rolling, and
Yeah.
it's really going to be kind of like a snowball effect in this area. Um, and then you know, hopefully continue to work and make bigger shows, better shows, and you know that's kind of, you know, and then if you're looking further down the line, you know, hopefully my daughters can get into something that they enjoy and they like, um, and maybe come up with a new section of my keto where they do fitness, or they do you know, have an art studio, or like whatever they want to do, you know, that's something that has a positive outlet in the community. And you know, because
Yeah.
that's what my keto has been since my parents started it in 1982. You know, just helping folks. We get people calling all the time. Like, first of all, people calling like trying to talk to my dad, thinking he's like still running running the show, and he's like, is Mike around? I want to talk to him. I want to thank him. You know, he's helped me so much in my life and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'll relay the message, sir. And you know, so um, you know, like I was saying before, it's a blessing to be a blessing, and what you guys are doing is awesome, and we're impacting, you know, more people in a positive way, and that's all we can do, man. Like, you know, with all the negative influence that's going around, to be a
Yeah.
positive influence is you know, it's kind of like, it really is like in a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
And then more specifically with me and martial arts, I think martial arts is really taking off and making some big impact around the world. I mean, UFC and all that stuff is one of the biggest names around, and kind of taking an upwards climb, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I can be at the forefront of that and be a part of that, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
that
man.
that's that.
Yeah, and the positive message that you're sharing, is very powerful, right? I think that's what me,
My keto, yeah, my keto means my powerful way. It started off, my, and then key, power, do, way. So, that's kind of like our thing is my powerful way.
yeah,
And,
Love it.
and everybody kind of find their powerful way is kind of what we help people do. And, it's really unique to see the transformation in people, as I'm sure you guys will see the transformation in people as you continue to coach and work with them.
yeah. It is powerful, man. I think the message that you're sending of, you could get a big misconception that martial arts is dangerous. It's like it's not good for people and stuff. That was like the old way, but it's the discipline and the philosophies behind it and stuff. It teaches a lot of self-discipline, personal development and stuff, and it is very powerful in a way. Like for me, it's like I'm a bodybuilder, and that's the discipline and mindset around it and stuff is what makes me feel powerful as well. Help teach and influence as much as I can as well too. But I think the question that Danny asked you was fantastic about asking like what your vision and everything is. My question would be like how you as a person, how do you want to grow? I know you're always about growing and everything. Like what are you doing currently now, as in like to grow personally, spiritually? I know you're doing pretty much like everything you can and stuff, but like is there anything that whether it be like reading books, podcasting, and the type of person that you want to be, is there something that you want to share with us, maybe like 5 years down the road, like the type of person that Brent Hess wants to be?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to constantly improve. I read books a lot, and listen to podcasts. In my martial arts, I'm blessed to have some really good training buddies, not only in my gym, but also in other gym. Like a good friend of mine, he's a UFC fighter, Ryan Hall. Uh, I help him train for some fights. He's a local guy, and he's a great mind of the martial arts, and really good guy personally as well.
Yeah,
Um, and so just to have that. I do yoga as well. That's one of my other uh,
yeah.
secrets that I like to do. That I kind of dabble in a little Bikram yoga.
But it's
Some
like
of
my
my
own yoga.
some of my
I,
pranayama breathing, and I would always recommend people to do breathing exercises. Cold plunge, I do that. I like that too as well. I mean, it sucks, but once you get
yeah,
into it and you kind of embrace the suck, then you'll feel. I mean, nothing that is gonna be beneficial to you as far as like growth wise is gonna be easy, or it's gonna suck a little bit, right? Like if you want to get better at running, you got to tie the shoes, you got to wake up, you got to go friggin' hit the road. You know what I mean? I saw Eamon was gonna do the 5K. I'm really happy for that, and
yeah.
I saw Danny pushing him to. I watched a little bit of that podcast. I saw Danny pushing him to kind of raise the bar and
No,
think
I
That
think
was
on him.
that was Sam Nang. No, I can't take credit for that. That was Sam Nang.
was
He was
That's
like,
Sam. Oh, I thought
he was
that was
like
Danny.
5K. How about a
I
marathon, Eamon?
that's like
Oh,
I'm
okay.
doing that is like when somebody says like, "Oh, that's good. Why don't you do this?" Because it makes that small goal or whatever, like that 5K, look almost like nothing. It's like, okay, am I ever gonna be a millionaire? Probably not. I don't know, maybe, but like I'm gonna say, hey, I want to be a millionaire. But in the process of me trying to be a millionaire, I'll probably make some pretty good money in the process. It's like that's the same where you start to minimize things. It's like we're talking about like in like life coaching and stuff. Play a lot of tricks on yourself, especially like when you're doing hard shit stuff like cold plunges or like building a business and stuff. You do have to play trick yourself and like reframe things. But I think we're running out of time, so I think
Yeah.
we're gonna wrap up the
Yeah,
podcast.
hey,
Which
much love to you guys. If I could give a couple like little shout outs to like ways that people can follow us on Instagram, My Kido Inc. Just My Kido and then INC. Um, as far as the boxing league, Champions League Boxing is on Instagram as well. We're going to continue to build that and blow that up and be on the lookout for our next
yeah,
event. And what else? Oh, my wife is a pretty crazy good influencer on Instagram. She's
yeah,
at Iris Fit Hess. I know
yeah,
Samnang kind of like follows her a little bit, and she does some pretty crazy good work, and not necessarily a world that I understand, but she's an influencer and kind of moves around with different clothes and coffee shops and restaurants and like kind of reviews and
yeah.
she so yeah, that's kind of what I got. You can also check out our website, MIKIDO.com.
Nice. What we'll do is share information that you want, and we'll put it in the show notes so anybody that's watching and share it with your network as well too, so we could get the message out. And I'll put it in the show notes so you could share it, and we'll share it with our like Braddock network, and then share it with your network as well too. And yeah, I think it was a very good podcast, very productive, and we got what we wanted to do with it. And we definitely have to have you back on in August or like whenever fits your schedule,
Yeah,
to update us. And we could probably update or get Eamon back on there and update us on his progress and stuff too. So, which
yeah,
is
100%.
neat. We're actually creating like a personal development community through our podcasting and stuff. So we have guests to come back and share what they learned, or from for us just kind of keep up, staying up to date or like connected. That's what I think the real big thing is, staying connected, even though we live in different areas and stuff, jumping on Zoom and talking about what we're doing and stuff that really connects each other. And that, to me, that makes me very happy at and that's our mission of our podcast. So we appreciate you
100%.
coming on to the episode today. And I guess
God bless,
Danny,
guys. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Brent. Good seeing you, man. It's been a hot minute. I'm glad to hear all things are going well and you're crushing it out there, man.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and when I come to Florida, I'm gonna visit you.
Do it, man. Definitely hit me up. I'll shoot you a note with my phone number and definitely hit me up, man.
All
Yeah.
right.
Awesome, guys. Great
All right.
Thank
podcast.
you, guys.
All
All right. We'll chat soon.
right. Bye-bye.